You hate ads? I hate ads. You know what I like? Patreon.com/Inkdependence keeps this blog ad-free. Hey folks, Mike here, and I've been to a bunch of pen shows. This video is all about answering the questions, what's a pen show like, and how can I prepare myself to have a good experience at a pen show? What should I know? Well, this video is how to pen show. Before the show, there are some things that you can do to make sure that you have a good experience at a pen show. Things that you can do to prepare. So the first thing is make some lists. I have 3 lists that I suggest. The first is a list of things to buy. So these are things you know you're going to go in for and you're going to look for perhaps right off the bat, or things you want to keep your mind on. So this could be that special ink that you saw somebody do a review of and you're like, I need to get that in my life. Or a pen that you keep hearing about, you're like, I need to have this, I know I want it. Or maybe there's a small maker or some such thing who's going to have, like, I don't know, one-of-a-kind pieces or color prototypes or something of that nature. Those things should go on your things to buy list. Also things like nib grinds and that sort of thing. Get that figured out ahead of time so you know what you're going to go in for. The second kind of list are things to try. Maybe you keep hearing things like, I don't know, I hear about this Pilot vanishing point, but I don't know if I'm going to like it. Like, am I going to be able to deal with this clip situation? You got to get it in your hand and give it a try. Is the Diplomat Arrow as good as Mike keeps saying it is? Like, is that as satisfying as it sounds on camera? Give it a try. Find one and give it a try. Or like, I don't know, is this little Schaefer Cadet gonna fit my hand when I'm trying to write with a vintagey thing? Or hey, what's this Parker 51 people keep talking about, right? Things to try, and people will have those things at the show. The number 3 list I would have is a list of people to meet, because look, pen shows have a lot of pens, and that is absolutely true. But the other thing that pen shows have are like-minded pen nerds like you and like me and other people that you will have met in the community online or just haven't met yet. So the third thing is people to meet. There's lots of people that you might want to meet from the community, and a pen show is a good place to do that kind of thing. So things to buy, things to try, people to meet. Okay, now there are some other things you'll want to get together so that you have them, like put them in a pile or something, because they're easy to forget. But things that are good to have before you go to a pen show. One is get snacks. Have some kind of snack that's not messy, that's not sticky, that's not going to require like a lot of maintenance. Like, don't get like a bunch of chocolate and throw it in your bag, because like, look, it can get warm at a pen show and you're walking around and like you pull it out and it's a gooey mess and you've got gooey mess in your hands and you got to find a restroom and it's a whole thing. So get a snack that's like, you know, can give you a little bit of pep, a little bit of hunger assuasion, but isn't going to make you all messy and stressed out carrying it around. Second thing is a water bottle. You're going to want to hydrate. I know it's easy to forget to hydrate, but like, get yourself a good water bottle that you can bring around so you know you've got a supply of water when you need it, and you're going to want it. So third thing is like comfy shoes. Not tennis shoes. Tennis shoes are not always the most comfortable thing, but some kind of shoe that you can stand in and walk around in for long periods of time, because there's always lots of stuff to see. The fourth thing is some kind of thing to carry around with you for your goodies. So this could be a backpack, a messenger bag. I'm into those kinds of things, but like whatever it is, have the right kind of backpack or messenger so that you're not making yourself as big as possible, right? Because there's a lot of people at a pen show. If you have a messenger bag that's, you know, huge, or a backpack that's massive on your back, it's going to be backing into people and making it's the whole thing. So like, get a bag that is a manageable size but still can carry the stuff that you want to have around with you. Pens, notebooks, that kind of stuff. Another thing to bring are things like pens and papers, because you're going to want to share your cool pens with other people. Like, bring some things that you really like. Also, bring some of your own paper, because if you're going to be testing out people's pens or inks, you'll want to do it on a paper that you know and that you like, so that you know this pen will fit you and your style. Last 2 things are very related. The first thing is make a budget. That's a thing that's always very good to have going into a pen show. Will you blow that budget? Maybe, but also like, it's good to sort of have that in mind so you don't go crazy, unless going crazy is the thing you want to do. And lastly, bring some cash, because not every vendor takes cards, and sometimes it's really good to just have cash on hand. Also, every once in a while you'll find somebody who will give you a slightly better deal if you are rocking some cash as opposed to a card. So bring some cash. Also, since it's pandemic times, get your vaccine and wear a mask to the venue, because there's going to be a bunch of people around from all over, and you want to keep yourself and everyone else as safe as you can. So at the show, here are some things to do. Here are some big reminders up top. One is hydrate. Drink that water bottle that you bring with you. There are usually places to get water around the ballroom or in the bar. They'll hook you up with some water, that kind of thing. Second thing is eat that snack that I told you to prepare, because you're gonna want that fuel. You're gonna end up being tired and achy and just like grumpy and hangry by the end of a show if you don't have a snack. Trust me, I know. And third is use the restroom. If you haven't used the restroom all day, and this happens at a pin show, that means like you're not getting enough hydration or something. Take care of your physical body. All right, so here are some more things you could do at a show. Firstly, this goes into the heading of be polite. Give people some room. Don't be crowding up all up on people, right? Be aware of your space, because you know how much room that you take up in a place. I've got, bigger shoulders, and I'm a bigger kind of guy, and so like, I try to stay back from things a little bit and try to let other people get in and see things, right? Next thing is ask before you touch things. If you're going to be handling pens or whatever, don't just grab stuff off a table. Maybe ask a vendor if it's cool, like, hey, can I see this? That's a good thing to do. So don't get all grabby hands. And so those things go under be polite. It's always best to ask permission. It's also best to ask questions. So vendors know stuff about pens, and they probably know more than you about that pen, and that is great. And they also probably want you to know stuff about pens, because the more you know, the more interested you're going to be in that thing, and the better you're going to feel about any purchase you make and your interaction with them. So ask questions. It can be a little daunting, but ask those questions that you have. Just be like, maybe even just generally like, hey, what can you tell me about this? Like, this is a Ryan Krusak pen. He could tell me a lot of things about this pen that even I don't know, even at this point. So ask the question. All right. Next thing is, should I buy? Well, that depends, right? So you're at a pin show. There's so much going on. There's 100 tables, 200 tables around of things to see, maybe more. And you're like, man, how do I navigate this thing? Well, it really depends on what it is you're looking at. So is it modern stuff from a vendor, like that there's going to be a bunch of that modern stuff? Like, I don't know, your retro 51s or something. Lots of people will have retros. They'll have different ones. Lots of people will have pilots. They'll have lots of different kinds of pilots and colors and nibs, and maybe even price points. Although on modern stuff from current vendors, those price points aren't usually going to be that different. And so that means you can kind of take a lap. Like, you see a thing you want, be like, cool, but take a lap, you can come back for it. It'll probably still be there. Now, if it's a small maker item, if it's something that there's one of, like this thing, or like one of these things from the franklin-christoph like prototypes table. This is not one of those, but you get the idea. There might only be that one thing, and so if you really like it, either buy it then or perhaps ask them to set it aside, although that's going to depend on the show and the vendor. So if it's a thing that you're like, I must have that, maybe don't take a lap, because you'll miss out on something. Somebody will have bought it. I still think about pens that have gotten away from me in the past because I did not follow this advice. If a thing is calling for you and it's in your budget, go for it. Okay. What about vintage things? Well, vintage is really tricky, because sometimes if it's like an Esterbrook J or something, there will be lots of those throughout the ballroom. If it's just like a pretty normal Schaefer, like, you'll probably find a bunch of those. But if there's something very specific that you know you want in the vintage space and you find it, it might be a good idea to go for it. But use your own wisdom on that. I'm not going to tell anybody how to be a collector. Okay, so we've covered things at the show. Now, what about after hours? After hours is like one of the better parts of a pen show, I think. As I said earlier, I think pen shows are really about pen people getting together and doing pen stuff. So after a show, hang out with people. Maybe you get to go to dinner with somebody that you've met there, or some group that you've met there. Maybe you meet up in the bar afterwards and there's just a bunch of people like, getting their pens out and writing with stuff. Don't be afraid to join a group. Be like, hey, I'm so-and-so, and I'd love to hear about all these things. Or look at this cool thing I got. Show your goodies to other people, because they will want to see them. We're all nerds of the same kind. Also, don't be afraid to ask to see other people's stuff, but do ask. Don't be Mr. Grabby Hands. No, just grabbing random people's stuff off tables, not cool, but asking like, hey, could I check that out? People are more than likely going to say like, yeah, absolutely, and let me tell you a story about it. So see some stuff, make some friends. Don't get too hammered. Don't do that. You don't want to be the person that got too hammered and passed out on the bar floor at a pen show. Like that's not a good look. Don't do that. And lastly, there can be all kinds of wheeling and dealing that goes on at the bar or the lobby area after shows. Sometimes people are selling stuff out of their personal collection. Maybe I'll have stuff that I'll want to sell, but like I'm not gonna sell enough stuff to get a table, but I'll just bring some stuff and maybe I'll have some stuff to sell or trade with other people. Don't be afraid to do that kind of thing. And also don't be afraid to like bring your stuff and be like, hey, so I was thinking about selling this. Is anybody interested? That might be a possibility. Okay, thanks for watching this how-to pen shows. If you have other questions, hit the comments below. I'm more than happy to answer them and talk about pen shows. Show up to one of the Friday live streams that are on pretty much every Friday. And also check out some of the pen show videos. I've been doing pen show videos for years at this point, and I have documented lots of the pen shows in the community. So go check those out. I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace out.